is going on, everybody? It is your observant lineman here, Uche Nwaneri, and welcome to Lineman Life Live. It is Monday motivation. Yes, indeed. It is the beginning of a new week, and the NFL has not gotten any less crazier. This past weekend in the NFL, another ridiculous day of scores. My goodness. Now, as you can see, obviously, my boy Justin Blaylock not able to make it today. Has some things he had to take care of. So, we wish him an easy Monday, an easy ride Monday. But your observant lineman is here nonetheless to take, pick up the slack and to keep it moving. Now, before we even talk about the scores from the NFL, there's some things we're going to go over. Some stories, and one story in particular that I think is actually one that's definitely worthy of us kind of rolling through a little bit here. And this comes from the world of basketball, the NBA. Sure, some of you have heard about the the altercation that took place in Detroit the other night with LeBron James and Isaiah Stewart. Now, crazy thing about this situation, for those of you who haven't seen it, I have a video here that pretty much sums it up. So just kind of lay out the context for you. LeBron and Isaiah are involved in a little bit of a tussle. Free throws being taken, free throw shots being taken. Isaiah's trying to box out. These guys, gets physical in there, down in the box whenever you're doing that type of stuff. LeBron James throws a vicious elbow which actually his fist ends up hitting Isaiah Stewart, slicing his eye open. Pretty gruesome cut above his eye. Blood was everywhere. And from there it turns into what one could only describe as a WWE, cage match, for lack of a better word. But let me pull this up. This was kind of hilarious for me to see this. I think you guys should see it too. 10-second clip. This kind of is what it turned into there for Isaiah and LeBron. But take a look. I think you'll enjoy. This is towards the end of it, but this is where things got really dicey.
There's going to be a fight here. Oh, yeah! It's Austin! Stone Cold! Stone Cold! There's going to be a fight here. Oh, yeah! It's Austin! Stone Cold! Stone Cold!
So basically what this turned into was just an all-out kind of shuffling match there. Isaiah was trying to get to LeBron. I think there's no doubt about that. Isaiah was trying to get up in LeBron's shit. LeBron is a protected player in the NBA. I think we all kind of know this. He's not the player that you're just going to run up on, you're going to get in a fight with. That is not going to happen. You will be taken out if you try. And in this situation here, there is a number of different outcomes that have been expected, but the one that has rang true for the NBA, and the one that I'm thinking that most people kind of figured would happen, is that there would be fines levied out, and of course, one would think that the person who actually threw the elbow here and caused the bodily harm would be the one who would receive the brunt of the punishment in this situation. But oh no, that is not what we see here. As SportsCenter is reporting, LeBron James will be suspended 1 game, and Isaiah Stewart will be suspended 2 games for their roles in the altercation during the Lakers-Pistons on Sunday night. But it don't even stop there, son. It don't even stop there. This cat, Isaiah Stewart, this guy was fined. He was fined for this action, for his frustrations, his Understandable frustrations. I mean, somebody elbows me in my shit, cuts my eye wide the heck open. I'm going to be kind of pissed about that. We're going to have some words, especially if I know that you kind of did that on purpose. LeBron James, he kind of did that shit on purpose. It may not have meant to cut his eye open, but he definitely meant to hit him, to be the tough guy, to be like, get the fuck off me. I'm the tough guy. I'm LeBron. I'm the king. That's what he meant to do. That is what he meant to do. And what have they done to Isaiah Stewart because of this? They finding this cat $1 million. Oh my God. Isaiah Stewart has been fined $950,000 for the altercation with LeBron James last night, per Shams Charania. Does that even make sense? I mean, you find a cat $1 million for getting his shit busted open? I mean, tell me that's not ridiculous. Tell me that is not the most ridiculous shit you've heard of. Whoa. NFL taunting, that's probably more. They're not finding anybody $1 million for taunting, but they're finding a cat who got his eye opened up $1 million. $950,000 for this altercation. And I mean, of course, if you go down here and look at the responses here, of course it's gonna be a shit show. It's gonna be madness. Corruption. That's more than Artest got fined for attacking a fan. True that. The Malice in the Palace. If you don't remember that, shoot, you might want to Google that up and check out. That is probably the only recorded brawl between fans and players in the history of sports. I can't think of another time in the history of sports where you have had players actively involved in a melee bout with fans in the stands. This shit was unbelievable. Some of you may remember it. I'm hoping most people who are around my age probably remember it. But those of you who don't, or who maybe weren't even born when it happened, it was wild. It was wild. The amount of people thinking this is real is why anti-vaccine propaganda spreads so fast. No, this is real, is it not? This is sports. Bleacher Report is. Wait. They got us! Ah! Ah! They got us! Holy shit. Is this did they get us? They got us. This is hold on. Bleacher Report, but then it says Bleacher Report. Oh, who is this guy then? How did they get this guy? Hold on, who is this guy? He's got 1.4 million. Damn, yeah. He ain't say none of this. Wow. Victim of misinformation. Look at this. I mean, look, I mean, your eyes go past all of this. I didn't see that there wasn't a check mark there. And I saw the logo and it said Bleacher Report. Come on. Who would look at this? Look at all the quote tweets. Damn, they got me. They really just scammed your boy with some fake news. Wow. Look at this. And everybody's just kind of, everybody's got it. Everybody literally is like, man, it's a bullshit. Oh my gosh. Let me just go. How long before people realize you're not allowed to run around the court and scare LeBron into hiding behind refs? Let's see. The Pistons should pay for this. If someone makes me bleed my own blood, I'm going off too. Oh. Oh, who is this? What is this? Is this the same thing? Oh, this is what he wanted to do to LeBron. Who is this? This is Chicago Bulls. Yeah. LeBron was being a little hoe right there. But you can see here. Now, if you look at it, look at LeBron's face. Come on, that's him trying to do the I'm a tough guy. Get your hands off of me. Yeah, and he hit him right in the face, too. That's oh shit. What the fuck? Man, you NBA players, man. What the hell is going on over here, man? What the hell is going on over here, NBA players? Oh, Mike Milbury. Oh, hold on now. What are we talking about here? What am I supposed to see? Show me. Seeing the Mike Milbury fights, a fan clip. Someone got to show him because it's. Hey, give me the link. Give me the link. Yeah. This does look like a bad jump for a rebound. It doesn't look totally. Geezer, what's up? Doesn't look totally like he was just trying to knock his shit in. He was just going for the rebound, and I mean, and Luka's my favorite player in the NBA, honestly, because I'm a diehard Mavericks fan, baby. So you know what I mean? Oh, here they go. Here they go. They going LeBron. Ooh, it's a joke tweet. Yeah, we see that now. Yeah, we see that now. That's crazy though, because that's so easy to miss. It's so easy to miss that kind of thing. I guess that's a lesson right then and there. That's a lesson right then and there. Let me see. Do we got a link in there for it? Let me see. We got a link. I don't see the link for that video, for whatever you want me to see. Wiggle. I don't see no link, but damn. See how easy it is to get caught up in the bullshit? See how easy it is to get caught up in that bullshit? Man. Duval. Yeah, it is easy to get caught up in that. But like I said, like I was gonna say, LeBron's situation as it pertains to this event teaches players of Isaiah Stewart's era that you cannot go near the superstar without there being repercussions. Now, luckily for him, he's not looking at no $1 million fine, but there is a little bit that some former players have added to the discussion that definitely warrants a little bit of screen time as well. Let's take a look here. Gilbert Arenas dropped a Instagram message about this situation in particular. And it says here, Gilbert Arenas has some words for Isaiah Stewart following his incident with LeBron James. And this is Gilbert Arenas' opinion. I'm going to read it. Try to read it. There's a lot of emoji in here. Woo! I mean, we'll do what we can. It says, no chill guilt. It says, Isaiah Stewart. Hey, brother, I'm going to just be real with you here. Pack all your shit. Pack your winter jackets and boots, because your ass is about to get traded to Budapest somewhere. I don't know what type of bumbucklot blood got in your eye, but you can't charge at the king like that on TV 100. You will be drug tested expeditiously just to make sure that rage ain't drug related. We don't do that in the NBA. You probably haven't read the memo on fight attempts in the NBA. Number one, don't square up with King James, easy money sniper, ever. So I think they're talking about LeBron James. I don't know who. That's what an easy money sniper. Who is that? That's Kevin Durant. I don't know. So number two, them two light skinned boys, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson on Golden State. Don't let your chest get puffy towards them, or your ass is done. Number three, only two teams that's allowed to fist fight without any real penalties is wherever Rajon Rondo and CP3 at. Number four, wait till your teammates get around you, then act tough for the crowd. Sell it like WWE. WWE pray what hand prayer? What is all this emojis he adding in here? That it's good luck. That what? That's it's good luck moving forward, my man. P.S. This was the worst. This was worse than the gun in the locker room situation. Some can say this was attempted murder. Only thing that can save you right now. MJ dropping episode 11 of The Last Dance, and he edits all Scottie Pippen scenes out. Or Vanessa Bryant dropping the Mamba last season 100. If you think I'm bullshitting, ask Enes Kanter 11. He got too close to the king back in 2016, 2017, and the Turkish president been trying to catch his ass ever since. Damn, that's that's a little bit of a disjointed little rant there from old Gilbert, from old Agent Zero. Old Agent Zero there done went off on him. But I think that, overall, in these kind of situations, the superstar is going to be treated with all the leniency. Or they're going to get more leniency than the others. Because superstar, it can be equated to money. Can be equated to ratings. Can be equated to exposure. And LeBron James, being the face of the NBA, regardless of whether you think he's still in his prime or not, he is going to receive the benefit of the doubt in almost any situation where he is being held, where his feet are being held to the fire. You can be assured of that. And even in this situation here, the situation that he honestly provoked, where he honestly took physicality to another level and created damage to another player, he receives less of the brunt of the discipline here, which is kind of, it's fucked up because he has a lot of influence in the league. He holds a lot of power with the commissioners, with his own franchise that he's with, and with the opinion and the sentiment of most all of the players in the NBA. Now, there are plenty of people out there who do not like LeBron, and I'm not a big fan of LeBron James, but I will say that he has probably got the cleanest off-court record of most any NBA player that's played in the recent memory in his era, in the era that he has kind of been that guy. He hasn't been a ton of controversy. There just hasn't been a ton of issues with him. There just hasn't. Definitely nothing involving law enforcement for the most part. So with somebody who has that kind of appeal worldwide for the NBA, that is how they're going to give him the benefit in regards to dealing with any kind of potential controversy that he might bring to the table. Now, with all that being said, put a bow on that. Let's look back at week 11 in the NFL because damn, can we get something like predictable going on here? Week 11 in the NFL was another crazy week. And, just a lot of games that played out in ways that you didn't necessarily expect. But we'll start it from the top here. You got Patriots at the Falcons. It's been bad. Falcons looked bad in this one. I think this is the second week in a row the Falcons have been shut out. I believe, or maybe second game in 2 out of the last 3 games. May not be consecutive, but Patriots look good. Patriots looked good. I mean, their defense has been playing well. Their quarterback has been playing solid. Mac Jones has been showing that he has the ability to potentially be that guy. Moving forward for these Patriots. And I mean, it just kind of, I consistently, as a former player, as somebody who has watched how some of these franchises have progressed over the years, I've always kind of, I don't know, I've kind of been in awe of the fact that some of these fucking franchises manage to continue to stack on generational talent after they just had a generational talent. You had the Colts with Peyton Manning and then Andrew Luck. Unbelievably lucky for a franchise to have 2 quarterbacks in that kind of situation. Then you look at a team like the Packers. They had Brett Favre, and then right after that, they had Aaron Rodgers. Unbelievably lucky that you could have those kinds of back-to-back quarterback situations. Joe Montana to Steve Young, and then most recently you have Tom Brady. And while I'm not fully committing to this being absolute, gospel, because we don't know if his talent extends that far yet, but he's looking pretty decent. You go from Tom Brady to Mac Jones. How fortunate, how spoiled franchises must be. And I did say Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. I said that. But how fortunate one must be, how fortunate a fan base must feel that you can go decades with a top quarterback. And this is something that, while he's not necessarily top quarterback right now, he looks like he's going to be, he's going to have a shot at being there for the long haul. But the Patriots are now in first place in their division. First place in the AFC East, I believe it is. Yes, AFC East. They're first place again. I mean, come on. Come on, Buffalo Bills, Miami Dolphins. You're supposed to be mud stomping the New England Patriots into the fucking ground at this point. And here they are by week 11 in 2021, 1 year removed from Tom Brady. They're back at the top of the division. And I find that to be inexcusable. Just going to be honest. Now, Falcons, Falcons have been holding on. I think they had a quarterback. They had 3 quarterbacks in this game, and every one of them threw an interception, which is like a first time in NFL history that something like that's happened. So Falcons are quite literally going into the blow-up stage because they can't delay it any longer. They won some games in a row, got themselves up to a fairly decent record. I mean, not great or anything like that. Still a losing record, but I mean, 4-6. Hey, it was looking really bad a couple weeks ago. So they got to be thinking to themselves at this point, okay, we're just going to have to hit the reset button. Matt Ryan, they're going to have to, part ways there. But Falcons are, clearly not, while they're not eliminated, they're really not in competition for any real postseason spot here. But moving on, we got the Colts pulling out a surprise upset. No, not even upset. Surprise ass kicking of the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Soldier. You boys were the class of the league just a week ago. This team is on a slide. And I mean, I don't know what it is. Honestly, I can't really point to any particular statistic that would lead me to believe that this is a team that was headed towards getting blown out by the Colts. This is a team that has had some quality wins. This is a team that has a stout defense, but this is also a team that has been showing more and more over the past 4 weeks that their offense is not as impervious as we once thought it was. They have slowed down dramatically on offense. And I think that has to do with, game planning. You see that they struggled in their past few weeks here. Let's take a look real quick. I just want to see what they're – okay, so the Titans. They struggled against the Titans. Let me see. Hold up. Yeah, they struggled against the Titans. And it's funny – they had that huge win against the Chiefs, and everybody looked at that win and said, you know what? Boom, this is the class of the league. And the very next week, they lose to the Titans. Close game, but they lose. And then the following week, they beat the Dolphins, but it wasn't as clean a win as this final score makes you think. They struggled with Miami. They struggled. And I think that was a blueprint that teams started to kind of grab onto with how they approached playing them on defense and stifling that offensive attack. There's kind of a three-headed monster there with Josh Allen as a passer, with the running back, and then with Josh Allen as a runner. And if you can stifle two of those, then the other one is pretty much nullified. So they go into Jacksonville. And this is the big one. I think this is the one that kind of really kind of brought them into a questionable phase of whether or not this was a team that really could handle being at the top of the league. They lose to Jacksonville, my Jaguars. And, everyone's asking, what's the problem? Well, if you paid attention to the Miami game, then you'd know that a defense that brings pressure, a defense that can get to Josh Allen, especially with them having hurt offensive linemen, having a hurt O-line, that's going to give you an opportunity to pull out a win against them. Anyways, they move forward. They go on against the Jets. Okay, this is to be expected to a certain extent here. But then you come up against another good, solid defense, and they take a shellacking. And you're going up against a good, solid defense with a streaky offense at best. Streaky offense at best. This is not an offense that hold on. This is not an offense that is so dominant week in and week out. This is a Carson Wentz that is very streaky from time to time. He's a streaky guy. He doesn't always make good decisions. We saw that a couple weeks back in their overtime game against the Titans. And they have skill, they have talent, but it's just not something that's found consistency yet in their game. And they get the job done. They get the job done kind of convincingly. They beat the shit out of these Bills. So are these Bills frauds now? Ain't no telling, because there's some other teams here. We can look at these other teams and be like, hey, those guys can be considered frauds too. But the Colts come away with the win, 41-15, 6-5 now. This puts them in the thick of things as far as the postseason is concerned. And I don't think anybody really thought that was going to be the case in Indianapolis in Week 11. So kudos to them on that. Moving forward here, Ravens, without Lamar Jackson, squeeze out a win against the Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears lose Justin Fields to a rib injury. And that situation in Chicago is playing out almost exactly like I predicted it would. This is a franchise that is so desperate to feel good about itself that they were willing to gamble with the career of their first round top pick out of the draft. They're willing to gamble that. A pick that they traded away other picks to move up to get. They're willing to gamble that just for self-gratification right now. Matt Nagy should be finished. This should have been it. He should be done as of today in Chicago. That's my opinion. Should be done. Should not come out of this week against Baltimore and be the head coach of that franchise anymore. I think that's as plain and simple as it can be. Because now your quarterback, who you have put all these, who you really are putting all this expectation into before you even teach him how to really play the sport at the professional level, this guy is now on the bench. He's unavailable because of injury. So you put Andy Dalton back in. Andy Dalton almost brings it back for the Bears, but come on, were we really thinking he was going to get that done? No. No. And you gotta, and again, I think if anyone who understands the dynamics of the football locker room, you gotta understand that as a player, when it gets to this point where we honestly have just watched us lose in every kind of way you can think of, and it doesn't really look like we're trying to win, we're not really putting forth a game plan that actually does provide us with the best opportunity to win, the locker room will be lost. And look, if there are reports of the locker room being lost now in Chicago, that means it happened weeks ago, and now it's getting out. When it happens, it doesn't get out to the public. It doesn't go out to the public as soon as it starts to happen. It gets out to the public a little bit later. That's kind of a staggered drip. So now somebody in the media is hearing about it, but this is something that was going down maybe a month ago. That locker room is gone in Chicago. And if the people who are in charge of decision-making in Chicago have not already sat down and talked about how to move on from this guy, then they're fools, and they will continue to see nothing but misery and pain as this season continues and as this franchise continues to try and move into the future. So the Bears, not looking good there. 3-7. Ravens are 7-3. Ravens squeeze it out, even with Lamar Jackson having explosive diarrhea before the game and not being able to play. Clearly caught a stomach bug, but was not able to play, and they still get the win. So, you got to take your hats off. The Ravens have found ways to win like this all year, so this is nothing new to them. Nothing new to them. See somebody asking, where is Urinating Tree and 5 Points Vids? 5 Points Vids are on Wednesday. They're part of the Tier Maker stream. That's the Tier Maker stream every Wednesday. Mondays is the NFL. That's our look back day is on Monday. We look back at the previous week. Wednesday, we do Tier Maker, predict the upcoming week. And then Friday is my casual Friday where I very chilly play video games and talk with you, the audience, the fans. You ask me questions, I give you answers. Prefer them in super chats, but I'll take them any way I can. But let's move on here. Whew. Detroit Lions, Cleveland Browns. Man, it just doesn't get much better for these guys in Detroit, does it? My goodness. Cleveland Browns are injured the shit at quarterback. Baker Mayfield is going through a little bit of a spiral right now, and they still manage to get that win. They only scored in one quarter, which is crazy to me. It's crazy to me looking at this stat line. They scored 13 points in the second quarter, and that's it. And the Lions still couldn't pull it out. The Lions have scored more than two scores in plenty of their games this season. 33, 17, 17, 14, 17, 11, 19, 6, 16, 10. Oh, well, they've scored more than two scores, technically, in what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of their what? 10 or 11 games? 6 of their 10 games? Man. I feel bad for these guys. I feel bad for Dan Campbell and everything they're going through in Detroit because the guy's a good coach, it appears. I judged him wrong. I thought he was going to be a clown of a coach when they signed him. But I don't know I really don't know the answer to what's going on here for them. These guys are struggling to they're struggling to make progress on a fundamental level as a franchise in just getting a win. And look, it is very hard to get a win in the NFL. That much I know to be an absolute fact. It's very hard to win. It is. It's hard to win one game in the NFL. It's hard to win. It's very hard. I remember my first win in the league was against the Colts, and it was the most exhausting win as my second game as a starter. And it was the most exhausting thing I'd ever been through in my life. I was like, I am so tired. I am so physically drained. And we barely won that game in Indianapolis. And when I sat there and thought to myself, is this what it takes to win a game in the NFL? I was like, I got a profound amount of respect for everybody who goes out there on the field and puts, the uniform on and tries to go out there and play on Sundays. Because, as fans, some people make light of the fact that a team hasn't won, and they'll make fun of that team. And they will go on about how, these guys suck. But no, these dudes don't suck. They just can't win right now. But it takes a lot. It takes a lot. It takes a lot from inside. It takes a lot from up here. It takes a lot from in here in your heart to go out there and just get one. Not even, to rattle off, eight wins like a team like Tennessee has. A team like the Packers. This is the NFL, and nothing is given lightly. Nothing is given without you paying a cost. And, the Browns, who actually, in my opinion, and this might be a hot take, but I feel like they're not a better team than Detroit is, really. I don't think they're really a better team than Detroit is. This is the team that is struggling. As badly as Detroit is struggling right now, this is a team in the Browns that's kind of struggling the same. They dropped some games in a row, if I'm not mistaken here. They dropped some games. They've dropped what? They are 3 out of their last 4. They're 3-4 in their last 7 games. But even in their in their wins, they barely beat the Broncos. They blew out the Bengals, which more or less might have been an anomaly. But they got some bad losses here too. They lost to the Cardinals, lost to the Chargers, lost to the Steelers, got blown out by the Patriots, barely beat the Lions. And then they got, they got the Ravens back-to-back weeks. How did that happen? That's weird. But what I'm trying to say here basically is that, this is a Cleveland team that is not prime Cleveland at all right now. This is a team that everybody was talking about going to the Super Bowl at the beginning of this season. I think right now they're trying to discuss whether or not they're even going to extend Baker Mayfield, whether he's even going to be their guy going into the future. The Detroit Lions obviously are going to need a draft. They're going to need some free agency work, but nobody wants to go to Detroit to play football. Nobody wants to sign a free agent contract to go to Detroit. That's the tough part about it too. So these guys are going to be, basically fighting for, the franchise's life and just trying to get players that can help them, take a step forward into relevance at the very least. But ugly win for the Browns, and, the plight of the Detroit Lions continues on. But I honestly think that there's no other loss that you could quantify in terms of ugliness more than the game between the Texans and the Titans. The Texans. The Texans went into Tennessee and beat the Titans. That shouldn't have happened. That should not have happened at all. And you can't tell me that because of one player, this is how things play out at the end of the day for the Tennessee Titans. Now, they do have a lot of people banged up in the secondary. They have some other injuries, I think, on offense as well. But if nothing else reminds you that there is a chance for any team to win any game, any week of the NFL season, if it hasn't been proven to you already this year by the teams that have beaten teams that they had no business beating, then this game absolutely represents that any given Sunday, anything can happen. Anything can happen. The Tennessee Titans had no business losing at home to the Houston Texans. Now, is this a division game? Yes. So it will be a tougher game. Those are always tougher games. But you was 8-2. You was 8-2. Even without Derrick Henry, you pulled the win out last week. This is the Texans at your home field. You should have the advantage. And they were big favorites. But they lost, and they lost by 2 scores. They lost by 2 scores. So that's the reality check that Tennessee has to bounce back from. That's a reality check. They've been brought back down to earth. I'm willing to bet there's a little slight bit of a feeling of their shit doesn't stink when they went into their last game. I believe they were playing against the Saints after they beat the Saints last week, and the Rams the week before that, and the Colts the week before that without Derrick Henry. I'm sure that created a little bit of some arrogance in there, just a slight tad bit. It always does. It always does. You can't avoid that. Sometimes you can't avoid that. So they were brought back down to earth. Texans pull out a crazy win. Tyrod Taylor, I think he ran for a touchdown, passed for a touchdown, maybe. Not sure. It says he reaches the end zone twice. Yeah, he ran for 2 touchdowns, I believe. And that kind of propelled them over the top. But that definitely should serve as a reality check for the Titans. Expect them to bounce back from that. I don't think Mike Vrabel will let them become complacent in regards to the effort they put out there on Sunday. So we'll see if the Titans bounce back for the next week. Now, Packers, Vikings, huge rivalry game. I would have been someone who expected the Packers to take this win away. But the Vikings at home get it done. Last second field goal to win it. And Aaron Rodgers, he had a hell of a game. He did have a hell of a game. They got the ball back with about 2.5 minutes left to go. He scored in 8 seconds. 4 touchdowns, 385 yards passing in a loss. That's not something that you usually see happen on a regular basis with the NFL's reigning MVP. I know Tom Grassi's got to be feeling a certain kind of way about that. Yeah. I'll be looking forward to his reactions this week on YouTube. But the Vikings have put something together here now. They done put something together here now. They done won 4 out of their last 6. They beat the Chargers. That was a huge win. Nobody really expected that. They should have beat the Ravens. And they beat the Packers. So next week they got the Niners at San Fran. Then they got the Lions, Steelers, and then Bears. And they go back into the back half of that with Packers and Bears. But it wasn't too long ago that we were looking at these Minnesota Vikings and saying that they were just ass trash and there was no chance for them moving forward. But now they could be looking at them. They could be in the race trying to get into that postseason. So we'll see how Kirk Cousins and company continue from here on forward. But I would say that they have definitely kind of reversed their fortunes because it was not looking very good for them about a month ago. So next up, Dolphins, Jets. Dolphins 4-7. I mean, we kind of expected their defense to play like they did in this game, for the majority of the season, and they did not. So that has been kind of the catalyst for the struggles that they've faced. The Jets, obviously, 2-8. Joe Flacco became the starter this week. Joe Flacco threw for 2 touchdowns. Wasn't a terrible stat line by him, but, these Jets is going to jet. The Jets is going to jet. And these boys just wasn't ready for the showtime here against the Dolphins. Dolphins aren't necessarily, creme de la creme. So they get the win by a score, 24-17. 2 teams that are not going anywhere in the postseason. Now, here we got the Saints losing to the Eagles. Saints have been having a little rough one here. They got some injuries. You still have Simeon in at quarterback. Guy's still been playing some ball now. Threw 3 touchdowns this game. Eagles have kind of found a stride. I mean, let's look at their record here. They've kind of found a little stride, have they not? They got 3 of their last 4 games. And the only loss coming to the Chargers, which was a close game. It looks here 27-24. So this is a team that's also kind of reversed their fortune somewhat. I mean, I don't think that most of us expected that they would be, I guess, kind of making a run here. And definitely didn't expect the Saints to drop to them, but it happens. It happens. Eagles win this one 40-29. Jalen Hurts, I still don't believe in him, but you never know how these things are going to go. Forever the Aints. Forever the Aints. But moving on from there, let's see here. Washington, this is a game that I didn't necessarily expect it to play out like this. Washington gets the win over the Panthers. Cam Newton has a heck of a comeback homecoming to Carolina. Couple of touchdowns. No, he threw for a touchdown, if I remember correctly. He threw for 2 touchdowns. And I believe, let me see here. Just make sure I'm sure. I believe, yeah, he threw for 2 touchdowns, ran for 1. 21 for 27. Wow, okay, Cam. Cam actually had a pretty good stat line here. 21 for 27, 189, 2 touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey, 10 for 59. But he also caught a touchdown pass. So, Christian McCaffrey has been a huge part of this offense. And when he's not on the field, when he's not healthy, they generally lose. But now I feel like having him and Cam on the field at the same time, I feel like there's a renewed kind of chemistry there. So, Cam Newton makes a heck of a throw, middle of the first quarter. He fakes a QB draw, and, as he's moving towards line of scrimmage, he just throws one straight down the center to Christian McCaffrey, catches it in the end zone, looks sweet. He ran for another touchdown. He just looked like old vintage Cam Newton. And I think that's it's good to see it. I think it's good to see it, to be honest. I think that is like one of the feel-good stories of the season. Because, the NFL season has kind of evolved from one kind of story narrative to another throughout the course of the season. And I believe that this was one that was unexpected, but ultimately has kind of enriched the entertainment value of the NFL, because seeing Cam Newton get back out there in not even as a football player, being out there with the New England Patriots, seeing Cam Newton back in the Carolina Panthers uniform, I like that. I really do think it was, I think everybody in the league kind of felt really good about that, because it didn't end right for them. It didn't end right for him in Carolina the first time. I think there was a little bit of bitterness on both ends about how that ended, especially from Cam's side, and I can understand it. You kind of expect a level of respect. A level of respect is expected for veteran players when it's time for them to move on. And I think that sometimes in some organizations, there's such a hesitancy to face those moments and pay the due respect to the player. I think a lot of times, front office people will shield themselves from having to actually face that situation head on because they feel that there's some level of fear there. There's some level of hesitation there. Because this is a player who's been with the franchise for a long time. This is a player who's embedded themselves in the city, in the culture of the city, and the people love that person. And it's hard for a general manager to swallow their fucking ego, or head coach to swallow their ego, swallow their pride, and just humble themselves for a moment and show respect to somebody who's given up a lot for the franchise. Did he win a Super Bowl? No, he didn't. But Cam Newton made Carolina a force in the NFL. He made them a team that would groom a number of top level players. He was a big reason for that. And they didn't show him the respect that he deserved on his way out the door. And I think that would have been a tragic kind of ending to that story had they not brought him back. And I think that it does kind of show the respect they have for him now, in whether or not that was the only choice they had to make or not. It didn't matter. We've seen teams avoid doing the obvious or making the obvious decision before. And there were maybe other teams that had they had the same situation, they wouldn't have signed Cam back, even though they knew that was the best chance for them to do anything. They wouldn't have done it because the ego and that pride will forever be in the way of them, showing any kind of concession to another player, to a player themselves. So to see that happen, to see Carolina and their front office humble themselves and bring this man back in, and to see the kind of reception that he's received from the city and from other players and from, and to hear what other players are saying around the NFL, it is one of the best stories of the year. And I really do love that I'm here to see it. But they didn't get that to go the way they wanted, but Cam still had a good game. So Panthers will move into next week 5-6. And all of a sudden, 4-6, Washington football team, they still ain't nowhere irrelevant, but they got some momentum there. All right, next up, Niners at Jacksonville. My God. I will say this. It never looks good when your stadium is literally 50% opposing team fans in a home game. When there is an equal amount of away team fans as there are home fans, there's a huge problem with your franchise. 2 wins is still pathetic. Let's just get that out of the way first for Jacksonville. 2 wins is still a pathetic season. I had 1 season as a player where we had 2 wins. That was 2010 with Mike Mularkey, 2011, I think. 2011, 2012 with Mike Mularkey as the head coach. Worst head coach in the history of fucking football. We went 2-14 that year. That is quite possibly, or actually it'd be 2-15 for this year's NFL schedule. That's quite possibly the situation we could be looking at with Jacksonville by the end of this season, and that would be absolutely unacceptable. I think Shad Khan needs to figure out what the hell he wants to do. I think Shad Khan is somebody who you can lay a lot of the blame for the last 10 years of the Jacksonville Jaguars' literal, mediocrity, not even mediocrity, just literal like existence and lack of relevance can be associated with the fact that they have an owner that's not totally there, not totally committed. And I'm not saying that he has to be totally committed, but you got to be able to read the goddamn room shot. Now, I've heard from media in Jacksonville that he's got like that man crush on Urban Meyer, and that's why he went for the hire. And that's why he's still so far up Urban Meyer's ass that he hasn't actually stepped back to take a look at what does this locker room look like? What is the production truly looking like? Look at the offense. The offense is galactically bad. This offense is so bad. It is so utterly dysfunctionally bad. You only have another season until there's serious talk that Trevor Lawrence would be a bust if he cannot turn the corner, not because of his own skill sets, because he has the skill sets, but because there's nothing being done to bolster the team around him. There was no moves made in free agency. There was no moves made in before the trade deadline. There was no moves made in the draft. Travis Etienne has a Liz Frank injury, which means he will never be 100%. He will never be 100% again in his career ever as a running back, period. That's it. He won't be, because that's what happens when you have a Liz Frank as a running back, because that's what you're going to do all game is run on that Liz Frank injury. Won't happen. Doesn't matter how much measuring of strength they do in that foot. Doesn't matter if they can say, oh, he's stronger in that foot than he was, before the injury. That's not where you're going to be able to measure the strength or whether or not he'll be 100% returning from that. He is going to be dealing with constant rehabilitation for the rest of his career because of that injury. And that injury will really boil down to a lack of durability that Liz Frank will be able to have moving forward. It's going to handicap his career. It's just point blank period. But the Niners go into San Fran with half their fan base, and they destroy the Jaguars 30-10. The Jaguars, I mean, god damn. Deebo Samuel was the biggest rusher for the 49ers. The wideout had the most rushing yards. 8 carries for 79 yards and a touchdown. The Jaguars, let's take a look here real quick. Well, they've lost Jamal Agnew. He's done with a hip injury. And here you go. The weight of Jacksonville Jaguars offense is all on Trevor Lawrence's shoulders. He has no help. What do you expect this kid to do? He doesn't have anybody. You didn't do anything to get him any help on the offensive side of the ball. And now Houston's actually ahead of you in the division. They're actually ahead of you. But this is a franchise that until there is accountability with the ownership, then there's nothing that is going to happen that is going to move this franchise forward in any significant way, in any meaningful way, now or in the future. And I'm sick of seeing it. And I'm sick of seeing it because the opportunities and the path to be able to get yourself into relevance has been there for years. They refuse to actually be proactive in that regard. First NFL contraction since Lord knows when. I mean, it's almost laughable, to be honest. It's almost laughable because, there's really not any other franchise that has this kind of a situation that they're dealing with year in and year out. And I don't understand why it's always just Jacksonville. I mean, the Detroit Lions, maybe, but I mean, they've got issues that are beyond just, the players and, the team. I mean, even where they're at is kind of a problem for them. Being in Detroit, it's kind of a problem for them. It's why you historically have not seen much from the Detroit Lions going back to the early 90s, to the late 80s. You still weren't seeing nothing from them. They had one or two seasons in the last 30 years that were even noteworthy. And it just hurts to see your franchise that you kind of, you've seen glimpses of potential greatness in the Jaguars as a player, but it's just all kind of flushed away, especially after 2017. Just all kind of flushed away. The Niners, they're bouncing back. The Niners are looking like a team that's getting their eggs back in, getting their ducks back in a row. Now, what does that mean at the end of the day for a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo? I don't know, because, he's a streaky quarterback. He's a quarterback who can look really good one day, and then the next week he throws 3 interceptions, and they're all dog shit interceptions. And so, he's never really been able to fully earn the trust of the franchise as a whole, even with them bringing in guys like Deebo Samuel to come in, Bobby Ayuk to come in and kind of take some of the pressure off of him. They start dealing with injuries, and you got George Kittle, another guy who's there to take the pressure off of Garoppolo, who's also dealt with injuries. So the 49ers, I think the jury will be out. I mean, you still don't see that. We don't see them as necessarily a contender right now, but they do have some pieces in place, and if they can continue to nurture it, then there'll be an opportunity there for them very soon in the future to make a move to try and move up in their division as a franchise. But moving on, Bengals bounce back. Bengals bouncing back. Raiders have now dropped multiple games in a row, and I think the Raiders have kind of reached that wall. I think they've reached that wall. I mean, they definitely have been fighters. I'll give them that. They've been fighters, and even now that they're 5-5, I mean, you can't say that they're not a team that hasn't really put it out there to try and get themselves into a position to be in the postseason. But I think that is they've kind of lost the steam now that they've had the situation with John Gruden. Then they had the situation with Henry Ruggs. Now Henry Ruggs, by the way, might be back in jail at this very moment because he violated the terms of his bond when he missed a urine test over the weekend. I mean, are you fucking kidding me, you idiot? You're a moron. You're going to prison, and you've just kind of shown that you still don't have a strong enough level of accountability as an adult to garner any mercy whatsoever, as if you were going to get any. But if there was even a moment of empathy that somebody could have had for you, that is now gone because you already violated your bond, and you're not even a month out from the situation that you caused another person to lose their life. I can't understand some of this shit. I mean, I really can't understand it. I really can't understand it. How are you such a fucking idiot that you violate your fucking bond after you're just committed vehicular or vehicular manslaughter or homicide or whatever you want to call it? And they said, if you want to stay free while you're waiting to go to trial, these are the things you got to do. I don't know what the judge decided to do with him. I can take a quick look real quick. Let me take a little look and see if God, what a fucking. Oh, okay. Well, all right. So we got a little info here. It says Henry Ruggs III remains under house arrest after missed test to have increased monitoring. Former Raiders receiver Henry Ruggs receives a stern talking to from Las Vegas judge, but was allowed to remain under house arrest with a continuous alcohol monitor on his one ankle and a GPS monitor on the other, following a fatal crash he's accused of causing by driving drunk. Man, what a fucking idiot. Justice of the peace Susan Bacum told Ruggs and his lawyers she was comfortable with a higher level of monitoring after hearing about a delay in Ruggs providing a remote breath alcohol test with a handheld device. Oh my God. But if there are any misses, if there are any problems, if there are any alcohol detected in your system, you need to know that's going to be problematic for this court moving forward. Henry still did the right thing by testing within the window. Okay, so it says here, attorney David Chesnoff and Richard Schoenfeld said their client took a test anyway out of an abundance of caution on November 13th and met a 3-hour requirement by submitting the negative test. Henry still did the right thing by testing within the window. Chesnoff said, standing with Ruggs before the judge, he should not be punished because his case attracts so much attention. Okay. He should not be punished because his case attracts so much attention? Well, whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? So, the judge allows him to continue under house arrest and adds a alcohol breathalyzer, or he has an alcohol breathalyzer on one ankle, and then he got a GPS tracker on the other ankle. So, I guess right there you see that he is they do have him in the monitoring carousel. But whenever you got to take that breathalyzer, you got to take that breathalyzer, man. Don't be waiting. Don't be procrastinating. I mean, come on, man. Look, you are what he doesn't understand. I mean, I'm sure he's been told this, but I don't know if he understands this. There is no probation for what you did. There is none. There is no probation, Ruggs. If you get convicted, you are going to prison. There is no plea deal. There is nothing. You have to face the jury. And that's it. That's literally it. So these are things that are going to come into play when they decide how they're going to sentence you if you're convicted. So, got to grow up fast. I mean, hey, I know he's a young kid, and I mean, I try to remember that, but that's all that's over with now. Anyways, Bengals beat them 32-13. Bengals bounce back. Raiders, hey, they're on a little skid now. But no one can say that this franchise hasn't fought valiantly in spite of all of the shitty circumstances that they've had to deal with throughout the course of the season. So I almost feel like they get kind of a pass in regards to, the kind of jabbing that can be given to them because, a lot of teams wouldn't be successful really in this situation either. So that's what it is for them at the moment. The Bengals are building back. They're building back better, baby. They are building back better. They took a couple L's in a row. They had a couple bad L's, an L to the Jets, and they got stomped by the Browns. They come back, they beat the Raiders. Next week they got the Steelers, and they get a win against the Steelers, and they're right back in it, right back in the thick of things. That's a division win. You get a division win, that's usually a huge boost for any franchise. So Bengals definitely looking to continue on a somewhat of a surprise season. I think that we all have been kind of hoping that Joe Burrow was not getting sentenced to a career of pure apathy going to the Bengals, but it looks like they are definitely setting a new culture standard there, which is good for them. Next up, Cowboys going to Kansas City and lose. Cowboys looked really bad in this game. Offense looked really bad in this game. I believe this is the first time in a while that the Cowboys on offense did not score a touchdown. Not a touchdown. And they lose to the Chiefs 19-9. The Chiefs, not a great game either. Not a great game. Their defense made plays. And they were able to get a pick at the end of the game to seal it. But the Chiefs, they've strung enough together in a row now to they're a threat. You gotta remember that they're a threat now. That's 4 in a row. 4 in a row. And really, you can argue that 3 out of those 4 are quality opponents. Because the Raiders were a better team. The Raiders were 5-4 when they lost to Kansas City. And the Cowboys are 7-2? 7-2. And the Packers were 6 or 7-1 at the time when they lost. So it is definitely a tough road back for the Chiefs, but they made it happen. They did make it happen. And the Cowboys themselves, maybe not as good as we thought they were without, but they did have some injuries that left them without guys like Tyron Smith, and Tyron Smith. My bad. And it has, just kind of, you get Dak Prescott coming back off of his injury, but he hasn't necessarily, doesn't look like he's fully gotten his rhythm back since then. They've had some struggles. But now they fall to 7-3, and the Chiefs get up to 7-4. Patrick Mahomes, you thought he was back last week. You thought the offense was back last week. This week they go up against a much stouter defense, and that defense holds them under 20, but they're not necessarily firing on all cylinders even still now at this point in the season with the Chiefs. So, it was good for them to hold on to get that win. It was more of a defensive effort, I would say, to get that win. But this is the crucial point in the season. The next 4 weeks are going to be huge. And this was a big win that they had to have. Now here's another team. Oh my goodness. I didn't even realize that the Seahawks were 3-7. Cardinals kicked their ass. Cardinals are 9-2. 2 wins in a row without Kyler Murray. My bad. I'm messing up names right now. Kyler Murray has not played in 2 weeks, and they won both those games with Colt McCoy quarterback. Colt McCoy had a heck of a game against the Seahawks defense. They get the 10-point win. And I got to say, at the beginning of the season, I said that I would not in any way fall into the trap of getting on the Cardinals bandwagon, because these bums did the same thing last year, starting off like 5 or 6-0, something wild, and then they just proceeded to slide right off the cliff. But I tell you what, them Cardinals run the division right now. And they're going to be the team to beat right now. I think they're the team to beat right now. This is a team that flies a little bit under the radar because of their location, in that they haven't been a perennial power in the NFC West. So there hasn't been a huge amount of exposure for the franchise. But I can tell you right now, they win the division this year, get into that postseason, which it looks like they're in, looks like they will be in. Looks like they may have home field advantage. I think one of the biggest, most telling stats about this franchise moving forward, 6-0 away from home. They play better than anybody else in the league on the road. That's huge. That's the kind of record, 6-0 away. That's the kind of record that a championship team an eventual championship team would have. So those of you who are Cardinals fans, I'm actually going to go ahead and commit myself for the first time in a couple of years. I'm going to commit myself to saying that these Cardinals are real deal. They're real deal. Real deal Holyfield. So these guys should be seen as the favorites coming out of the NFC right now. Even more so, I believe, than the Packers were. Because I'll tell you what, if for some reason by the end of this season they don't have home field advantage and they got to go to Green Bay, I'm picking them. Because it don't scare me. You know who doesn't scare me in the playoffs? Green Bay. Now, I like Green Bay. I like Aaron Rodgers. I like the franchise. I like how they're built to win now. But I'll be straight up with you. Nobody is scared of Green Bay in the playoffs. Nobody has been scared of Green Bay in the playoffs in the NFL. The last time they were a threat in the playoffs was 2010. That's the last time anybody feared Green Bay in the playoffs. I don't think anybody fears them. I don't think anybody is going to change what they are to compete with them. And I think that if you take a team like Arizona into Lambeau in January, I think they win that game. I think they win that game. If it's for all the marbles to go to the Super Bowl, I'm taking Arizona. Because ain't nobody scared of Green Bay. Nobody is scared of them. They just lost to the Vikings. That's their rival, but they're still a class above them, and they still lost to them. I just don't think anybody is really scared of playing against Green Bay. They've never felt like a world-beaten team. I think teams did not want to play Tampa Bay last year in the playoffs because Tampa Bay would look like a team that could beat anybody and beat them badly. You got Tom Brady there. I mean, of course that's what it's going to feel like. But here, looking at these Cardinals and how they have been so resilient. They've been a resilient franchise. You cannot discount that. They've been resilient. Going up against a franchise that really has their issues because they've got egos on that team. They've got egos on the coaching staff. They got people who think they deserve more than they actually deserve. They got people who deserve more and are getting less. And I never really felt. I mean, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong in saying this, but I've never felt like that Green Bay team was truly a team. I felt like it was a lot of individuals. And the biggest individual of them all is number 12. The biggest one. Excellent player, Hall of Fame player. I've always loved his ability as a quarterback, but I never felt like he truly had killer instinct when it mattered. Because killer instinct to me would have been him running that ball into the end zone against Tampa Bay on 4th down instead of throwing it to a tight end who was double covered. But that's just me. That's just me. I say, hey, every quarterback that I know who's been about there is getting that ring, they sacrifice their own body to do it. John Elway, Steve Young, they lay that body across the goal line and they take whatever punishment is coming their way for the team, for the betterment of the team. And while he has done that in the past, in, regular season games, preseason games, never really done that when it really counted. Conference championships, divisional playoff rounds, lay your body out, sacrifice your body for the team. Don't really see that. I did see him squander 3 turnovers from his defense that would have given them a chance to blow out Tampa Bay. I did see him fumble those off, but That is neither here nor there. I do think that these Arizona Cardinals are a team to be reckoned with, and we'll be hearing more from them very soon in the future. Now, finally, in a game that, I'll say the Steelers have played the ugliest football that I've seen in a long time throughout the course of a season. And they're still there. They're still hanging in there somehow, some way. But your boy, Justin Herbert, I've been saying it. I've been singing his praises since day one, and I ain't stopped singing them since. And even with them having a little downslide where they lost some games that they maybe shouldn't have, I have stayed true to this cat is going to be the best player in this NFL very soon. And he's showing it. Huge game, beating the Steelers 41-37, 90 yards rushing, 3 touchdown passes. He carried this team. He took shots while doing it. And the Chargers, another team that is very much in control of their own destiny. Very much in control of their own destiny. The Steelers are to a certain extent as well, but I don't think realistically anybody's expecting the Steelers to really make a push for anything. Steelers going to Super Bowl! Oh, Steelers! No, there will be no Yinza. There will be no Yinza getting into the Lombardi contest this year. I know they Sixburg, but definitely not a team. Definitely a team that needs some reworking, some rewiring. They got to figure out the quarterback situation because Big Ben is done. Let's be real. Let's be honest with ourselves. Big Ben is done. Big Ben is washed. He's done. Okay. Najee Harris pulled a stunt last night, did he not? That cat had a concussion. I don't care what nobody says. If you see that play in full speed, and I'm not going to pull it up here now. If you watch that play in full speed like I did, Najee Harris took a helmet blow, or not a helmet blow. I think he took was it a helmet or or shoulder or an elbow or something? Literally under his helmet, on his chin, literally on his physical chin. He took a blow. He was unconscious on the ground for a few seconds. You could see his arms were, he was twitching with his arms. His arms were twitching on the ground. His body was twitching back and forth. That is involuntary twitching. He was unconscious. And then he got up. He realized that he came to and realized that he was out, and he tried to play it off as if he wasn't hurt. He was unconscious, and they let him back in the game. They said he went through the protocols. Bruh, all you had to do was look at the play. He was unconscious, which means he was concussed because his brain got shook in his head, and his brain decided it was time to reboot because that was just too much. And if they're going to start letting players, and let me see if I can find this play while I'm sitting here, because he was unconscious. He was clearly unconscious. Let me see this. Okay, here's the play. Okay, yeah, this is the play. Holy shit. Oh, my goodness. All right, let me share this with you guys real quick to bring this thing to an end. Let me share this because this dude was unconscious. You can see it. It's clear as day. And there's really somebody got to pay for that because that's you don't allow him to go back in the game after this. Now, Now, let's just let me blow this up. Now, look at this. Elbow. How are you going to tell me that elbow to his face, which drives his head into the ground? Now, look at him. From right here, look at him.
It's a nice tackling tonight. Campbell makes
you see his head, right? Watch his head. These are involuntary movements.
It's a nice tackling tonight. Campbell makes
that is a concussion.
Let's go to Michelle.
Well, Asante Samuel is officially.
That is a concussion. He is concussed. One more time. When you get hit like this, and if they have the replay, I'd love to see the replay.
Harris. It's a nice tackling tonight.
He thought he was still running. He was concussed. How do you allow him to go back in the game? That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. They didn't throw a flag, which they should have, which, I mean, don't get that twisted. He's going to be getting, whoever the player was that hit him, will be getting a $15,000 fine for absolutely sure on Wednesday when the work week starts. But this cat got knocked unconscious, y'all. He got knocked unconscious. Oh, here's the replay. You know what? This is an even better look at it. It's an even better look at it real quick. You'll enjoy this. This was a better look at it here. Even better. Boom. Hold on. Why is this thing playing? Stop it. Okay, so this is a slow motion replay. Now, just think about this for a second. You've seen guys when they hit their heads on the ground, how they go out cold, they get the stiff arms, their hands clench, and it's like a stiffness, and they might just be doing like this, like they're continuing the play that they were doing, because that's what they get stuck on. They get stuck in that glitch in their head. Well,
here it is again. They get hit right in the chops.
It's a really bad miss by the officials. You're going to lose a star player and should have at a minimum had a 15-yard penalty.
That is
tacked
a
on
concussion.
Top.
Here it is again. They get hit right in the chops.
I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a really bad miss by the
that,
officials.
Look at his head.
Lose a star player and
his head gets
at a minimum
whipped
had a
into the ground.
15-yard penalty tacked on.
That is a concussion. Clear as day. I don't know how they allowed him to go back into the game. If I were Najee Harris, or if I was his agent, I absolutely would be filing an NFL inquiry or grievance into that with NFLPA, because whether he wants to believe it or not, I mean, of course, he's a competitor. He's not going to allow himself to get pulled out of the game. That is kind of where you take the decision out of his hands as a franchise with your training staff and say, you're not going back in the game because you have a concussion. You can tell us whatever the fuck you want about you remember these numbers or where you are, blah, 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 blah. We don't give a fuck. We saw what just happened to you, and we saw how you reacted in the immediate time that it happened. You were not in control of your own functions for a couple of seconds, which means you were concussed, which means we can't let you back on that field for liability issues alone. But Najee Harris, I believe, and I honestly, I love Najee Harris. I think the kid is going to be the best running back in the league at a certain point. He is what they have been waiting for to replace LaDavion Bell, and he's better than LaDavion Bell, I believe, already in many different aspects of his game. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's great at falling forward. He's a better athlete. He's faster. He runs with a lower base of gravity, so he's harder to tackle. He's a better player than LaDavion Bell. And before it's all said and done, he might be the best running back that they've had since Jerome Bettis, in my opinion. So, Steelers lose this game to the Chargers. Chargers bounce back. after a little bit of struggling. And the Chargers actually with what's his name? Aaron Eckler. I forget his damn name. Eckler, something like that. Their running back. He had a great game. Keenan Allen is always doing his thing. But these Chargers, well, I believe they'll make the postseason this year. Now, does that mean that they're Super Bowl contenders? No, I wouldn't go that far. But they're definitely postseason contenders. Wild card, potentially get into that divisional round, but don't see them going much further than that unless they just have a lot of things going for them. You know, momentum has a lot to do with winning in the playoffs. If you go into the playoffs hot, you've got momentum and you get the right matchup, anything can happen. So with the Steelers and the Chargers pull the late game winning drive to take that one. And yeah, I think that's it. That's what we got. Now we do have a game that's already started here between New York at Tampa Bay. I don't think anybody has any delusions about how this one's likely gonna play out, but never say never. But that is gonna be it for this live stream of Austin Eckler. Thank you. That's going to be it for this live stream. Lineman Life Live. I'm your observant lineman, Uche Nwaneri. I appreciate you guys for being in here so much. Make sure you hit that like button if you haven't already done so. Make sure you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. And we will be back on Wednesday. Tier Maker Live. You know what time it is with Tier Maker. It's going to be some good times. Going to have Urinating Tree on here. Going to have 5 Points videos on here. Going to have Justin Blaylock likely back. And I'm trying to get one more special guest for Wednesday's live stream. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Hit that notification bell so you get notified when I do put up the live streams preview. And until then, you'll see me tomorrow on the Dumpster Fire with 5 Points videos and Urinating Tree. So make sure you check that out. But I am Uche Nwaneri, your observant lineman. I appreciate you guys so much for being in here, and I will catch you all on the next one. Peace.